Wolfenstein 2 is a game all about exploding, putting holes in, and dismembering very angry Germans with multiple instruments of mass destruction. There's also an axe. So today, I'm axing the question, can you beat Wolfenstein 2 without guns? First off, I'm gonna be playing on Bring It On, and also, YouTube doesn't like it when I say the name of the angry German organization, you know, the one that this entire game is based around, so instead, I'll use names of characters in kids shows. So the game starts off with me in a wheelchair because of reasons? I don't know, I've never played Wolfenstein 1. Anyways, we are on a sub getting attacked by Tinky Winkies, and there's one Tinky Winky lying in my way with a submachine gun. Now, you wouldn't shoot a man in a wheelchair, would you? Okay, yeah, you would. I tried rushing this guy to maybe wheel around him or melee him, but the game said no. I had to sit there while he shot me. Repeatedly. I didn't have a lot of options here, so I would roll up to him and hope for the best. I did this over and over until something great happened. He pulled out a grenade. Now, I died in the explosion as well, but it was an improvement. I did a little more experimenting, and it turns out that if he runs out of ammo, he'll resort to blowing himself up. So, I had to bait out his attacks in order to waste his ammo, and then wave him goodbye. From there, I was able to wheel my way over to the enemies and give them a good look at my headrest. I finally got the melee unlocked. What? You can't tell me what to do. Larry David here tried telling me that maybe barehandedly fist fighting a whole submarine full of enemies in a wheelchair maybe isn't a good idea, but I don't listen to reason. Only that voice in my head, and it tells me that it would be really fun. So continuing on, I got access to traps, which turn people's insides into outsides. My first experience with traps is setting one and then immediately strolling right on into it. I don't know what I was thinking, or if I was thinking at all. I didn't have a lot of options for combat, so I really had to roll on in headfirst into every enemy. So this whole section was really about scavenging every single little bit of health I could find, because you might not know this, but bullets hurt. Luckily though, Billy can take quite a few shots. That bathrobe he's wearing is very protective. Then I ran into, or wheeled into another roadblock. I got thrown off my wheelchair and was stuck in a shooting section. There are 3 enemies here. Luckily, the first one doesn't know what the definition of aiming is, he only does 2 damage. The next one can be taken out by leaving the traps on, and that leaves us with 1 Thomas the Tank engine left. Unfortunately, this guy actually knows how to shoot, and I'm kinda screwed. I reloaded a save in order to get more armor and health to tank through the attacks, but that just resulted in me lying on the floor and him shooting me in the face. So, unfortunately in this case, I had to return the favor. So, I had to make my way over to the elevator, and that was the first mission done. I got a lift from the submarine onto a plane, and I got to see some stuff that I definitely can't show in fear of my channel being nuked with several demonetizations. Let's just say that gray-haired Ellen here had some separation issues, mainly between her head and the rest of her body. On the bright side, I got her kicks, which are pretty nice. They're slip-ons. Oh, yeah, and they also gave me the ability to stand, so that was pretty good too. My objective now, besides killing as many Wandas as possible, is to detach our sub. So exploring the ship, pretty quickly on, I found my best friend for the rest of the run, the axe. After that, I got to meet up with a fellow wheelchair user, or at least, he will be. I got my first taste of combat, and man, it was so much easier. Now I was able to run up to enemies, taking less damage, and most importantly, the axe animations are so much faster. In the wheelchair, I would get shot repeatedly while mid-animation because it took so long. I also found some explosives lying around, and consequently, there were also body parts lying around. I then got introduced to the mecha boys, but surprisingly, they weren't too bad. My usual strategy of not having a strategy at all and just randomly attacking actually worked pretty well. I did some sneaking here and realized that I don't need to actually kill every enemy. I can just run past like the total coward that I know that I am.
Please stick around, so I can keep your wings a little longer.
So much for those wings, Billy. So I undocked our submarine and we were about to escape, but there were 2 enemies up on a ledge. I was out of grenades and throwable axes, so I just let my AI friends handle it. Oh, so close guys, you got it. Yep, Keep shooting. Wow, it's actually impressive how you're shooting every single area except where the enemy is. It was obvious that these guys couldn't handle brushing their own teeth, let alone shooting, so I had to reload a save in order to get an axe. I then did a little target practice and we were back on the ship. Here I learned that there have been Bob the Builders living in our walls, spying on us. I knew it. Nobody believed me. It's not excessive paranoia if you're right. Sneaking wasn't too bad here, mostly because the enemies didn't seem to hear if their friends would scream out in pain right behind them because I just launched an axe straight through their cranium. Things were under wraps until I they might know that I'm here now. The preceding fight was actually really hard. The sheer quantity of Arthurs I had to split open was insane. One little trick I found was that meleeing while jumping not only looked sick, but also let me skip the attack animation, which can be essential, especially when getting shot at. After that, I took a trip to New York. When I first started this level, I was looking around and I think I got the world record for soft locking the game. Seriously, I just had to reload a save here. This mission was all about finding and meeting up with the rebels in NYC. There were a lot of enemies here, so the jump attacks really came in clutch. So did running away, except for the dogs. You can never outrun the dogs. This was really more of the same, except with drones now. The new and improved bane of my existence. I had to swing my arms in the air, praying that I would eventually hit one of them, while I slowly got lasered and shot. Thankfully, I was able to find the trains and was out of that hellhole. The beloved NY Metro, just as I remember it. While running towards the rebel base, I happened to stumble upon a 10-ton death machine. So naturally, my first thought was to 1v1 it. This may come as a surprise, but that wasn't a good idea. So I went to my next best strategy, running away. I ran in circles with bullets nipping at my heels while completely lost. I died a lot of times here, not because of the giant mech machine chasing me, but mostly because I didn't know where to go. Eventually, I found my way to the rebel base, and they were really nice. They gave me some food, trauma dumped about the horrors of nuclear annihilation, and then left me to fend off the incoming hordes of foofas. This fight was hard, because everywhere I ran was infested with enemies. I had no real safe quarter here. Also, I couldn't go to my usual strat of abandoning my dignity along with the firefight because I had to stay in this room. I died here so many times. The best strat was to never stop moving. Using grenades didn't hurt either. Well, it did hurt them. I had to do this fight so many times that I eventually memorized the location of all the health packs, and after that, it wasn't too bad. Things really got hard though when some big guys came near the end. Actually, let me rephrase that. Some larger individuals happened upon the scene towards the climax of the altercation. Luckily, I had backup in the form of a helicopter and an attached minigun. After that, it was back into the walls of the submarine in order to find some nukes. Yeah, apparently we had some lying around in our junk drawer. This was a real nice change of pace. It was just me, the water, and well, one drone, but I got him pretty easy. I was expecting an explosion. I turned on the power to the nukes and got jump scared by some more mech dudes. They were chilling in these pods just waiting for me. These big guys alone are actually not too bad though. I can play Ring Around the Rosie with them and they're too slow to keep up. There were multiple of them here, but thankfully they were polite enough to go in one at a time. It did get a little trickier with drones thrown in the mix, but it was nothing good old nitroglycerin couldn't handle. What's that noise? Actually, I don't need to know. Let's just leave, please leave. So I dropped off the nuke, watched this old man grope the air for some reason, and I was off to Texas with said nuke I just found in order to commit some teensy-weensy acts of terrorism.
Fireman, I recognize your face.
Yes, I've done some appearances on TV, alongside some modeling work on posters. It's really good. When you see it, it'll blow your mind. Or a gun will, but potato. After that, Comb over here gave me the rundown on what's in the military base I was about to blow up. He said it's aliens. It was pretty evident though that his sanity, like the hair on top of his head, was fading. Regardless, he still helped me into the base. First off, I had to hijack this train, preferably as quietly as possible. Needless to say, I messed that up near immediately and ran around like a headless chicken. I ignored pretty much all the enemies and hopped onto the train that would take me to the base. Oh, yeah, and I should mention that while doing all this, I had a nuke strapped to my back, which couldn't have gone wrong in any way. Then I was fighting on the train, and again, it was pretty much all about the jump attacks, especially in these tightly packed areas. Sneaking here was quite easy, especially since the captain happened to be interested in watching paint dry. Stopping the train and arriving at my station, things started to get a little tricky. I was sneaking through Chase's main underground base, which was just littered with enemies. No need to fret though, because I had this perfect route where no one would see me. I'd go through this side room, take this guy out, go a little further to the left, silence this guy, and then all I'd have to do was wait for this elevator. It was foolproof, and it really was. But after my plan, I happened to make direct eye contact with a mech dude, and everything kind of fell apart after that. I was back to running. I ran straight to their nuclear reactor, and thankfully, it started a cutscene, despawning all the enemies. I always knew that running away from my problems was a valid strategy. After that, I ran straight into one of those death machines. But you know, I slipped past all cool like, and everything was under control. Open the door! Open the door, please! Open the door! It's behind me! It's behind me! So, I planted the bomb, but before it went boom, all of the little Einsteins went on a trip in their favorite rocket ship. So, I couldn't kill all the high-ranking guys, but I was able to atomize everyone else, so I'll take what I can get. Billy then thought it would be a good idea to visit his old home, reconnect with his paw, and disconnect his hand. It turns out that good old paw ratted him out, so it's time to fight again. You know those claw games they have in arcades? Yeah, well they did that with the entire house I was in. There were drones all over the place that I couldn't really fight unless I wanted to go skydiving without a parachute. So instead, I rushed to axe each of the claws to detach them until I went into freefall. Wait, I'm going into freefall. I didn't think this through. Somehow, Billy survived. I think his plot armor cushions the fall. After that, I was arrested and did the whole press junket. I was pretty popular. The women couldn't keep their hands off me. I got put in a cell, but luckily, our balding friend was able to sneak in as our lawyer. He was gonna kill a guard, then wheel us outside where we would make a break for it. It was crazy, but just crazy enough to actually work. Oh yeah, never mind. That wouldn't have worked from the start. I mean, I don't even think terrorists get lawyers. I was put on trial where I supermaned my way out of chains and started going wild. I had seen enough hallucinations to know that this was one of them. Just a dream inside a dying brain. But even in this dream, I was able to die, which doesn't make much sense story-wise. This fight was very hard. It's right out in the open, and my only objective is to kill, so running away is no longer an option. I had to nail my jump attacks here because staying still was not an option, unless I wanted my body to be perforated with more holes than a pair of Crocs. Besides that, I was constantly scavenging for literally any health items, because mine drained quick and constantly. After I was done, I had a little chat with my dead mom. So yeah, I was definitely going insane. And then, it was time for my execution. Hello? Hello? Any dragons in the nearby vicinity that could be of assistance? So, my head got a divorce from the rest of my body, but fret not, I live on, as a head in a jar. Luckily, I have a spare body lying around. Don't ask where I got it. So, I can just plop myself onto that. I'm also given the option between 3 upgrades. The Constrictor Harness, the Ramshackles, and actually scratch that, I only have one option. It's the Ramshackles. While being 9 foot tall might get me the attention of a female someday, and the sneaking capabilities of the harness are pretty useful, they pale in comparison to the beauty of the Ramshackles. I think Larry here can describe it best.
Shackles will lock your upper body joints in place so they will never break even when subjected to enormous
Actually,
force.
this is
What does it
boring.
mean?
I'll show you. As you can see, I can now run into enemies and walls to obliterate them. No cardboard cutout shall stand in my wake. This new body is pretty sweet, except it doesn't have nipples. I don't know, I thought I should mention it. I look like a Ken figurine. The next mission was stealing some secret info in the Hattons of Man, so I flew over and got to try out this new body. Did I Did I just burst that man open? This upgrade was amazing and made the game a lot more fun because it combined my two favorites: running, usually away, and bursting people open like a watermelon you put one too many rubber bands on. Most importantly, it allowed me to attack quickly. The axe animations are slow and the jumping attacks can be super finicky. But with this, all you gotta do is pick a direction and charge. I'm not the only one who got an upgrade though, because the enemies now have giant robo-dogs. Aww, they're so cute and life-threatening. I don't think it needs to be said, but I immediately tried to 1v1 it, and near immediately I got my crap kicked in. I gotta stop fighting things 10 times larger than myself. Luckily, I was able to run away. Health, give me some health. Wait, I should have looked before I ate that. Was that... Did I just eat dog food? The rest of this base wasn't too bad. I picked up the info I needed, ran through some verbs, and I was out of there.
Captain, have you time to help out?
Did you just speak to me in parcel tongue? My next mission is to infiltrate New Orleans. It's hard to get in there because they built some big walls around it. Now, as fun as it is to run into someone so hard that all that's left is some giblets on the floor, I still had to sneak here. There were just too many enemies. This was slow and tedious, but hey, it beats dying. The streets here were littered with Pablos everywhere I looked. I could not take this many people on, so this was a mad dash, and I nearly went mad with how many times I had to do it. The enemies here were annoying, but I often got lost, and that's why I died the majority of the time. I then had to enter this building because Billy wanted to play with a crane, and oh man, this upgrade came in so clutch here. There were so many enemies packed so close together. I tried using the normal axe attack, and I was gunned down every single time. The speed of the ramshackles just can't be beaten. After that, I got to meet up with the resistance group around here. They were real nice. Besides the fact that I immediately got into a screaming match with them, we had some moonshine, but I don't really know how Billy gets drunk, considering his body is more synthetic than Kim K's. After agreeing to help us, these fine people gave me a fire-breathing giant mecha dog. Now, I could have counted this as a gun, but come on, it's a fire-breathing giant mecha dog, of course I used it. And it was wonderful. A wave covered the land as screams of resistance morphed into pleas of mercy. But no mercy could be found. Like I said, it was wonderful. After my fun, I did have to leave my new friend, which saddened me to an enormous degree. Especially since, after that, I had to fight in a very small building. The narrow hallways forced me to run directly at multiple enemies, all of whom had guns pointed at my face. You can guess how that played out. Regardless, I found my way out and we were back on the boat. Remember when I was about to blow up that nuke, but everybody flew away in ships? Well, they flew away to Venus, where they have all the codes to their new secret weapon. Coincidentally, that's also where they're holding auditions for a movie about me. Look at me, Ma, I made it. Sure, they're portraying me as a bloodthirsty child killer, but no. Wait, no, that's actually really bad. So, I'm pretending to be another actor in order to fly up to Venus and audition for myself. The man in charge of the auditions is the nuts one nut man himself. Truly a prime specimen. We had to read some lines, and thankfully, my acting skills are just on point. I killed it, and then I killed a man, which got me the role. Usually people don't like it when I kill people, but no, in this case it was a good thing. Anyways, now I'm on a space station and I can finally brandish my axe. I did a little, well, let's just call it improvised hacking, and I was onto their secret base, which kinda sucked. There were blueies around every corner waiting to introduce their guns to my forehead. So again, this was almost all sneaking. Peekaboo! Oh, where'd he go? Peekaboo! Huh, I can't seem to find a peekaboo. I then ran across another conveyor belt section, and again, it was a real roadblock. I can't move, and the enemies here can actually aim, so I had to set this whole plan up. I'd jump as far as I could, as quickly as I could, and that would cause one of these two to shoot the barrel right next to them as it was in their way. Then I'd throw a grenade over here, because if I threw it too late, the blast radius would hit me as well. So I put all this thought into a plan, and it didn't work. Like, at all. Individually, they were good ideas, but putting them together, it was too much. It just didn't make sense. But after a while, I just got lucky. All the enemies just missed their shots. Ooh, big red ball. Wait, why is it hissing? And then it didn't explode and I moved on to the next section. This area was the room with the secret codes, and I have no idea how I survived here. I mean, I was at 5 health, charging at shotgun enemies and mecha dogs. Again, I just got extremely lucky here. So I grabbed the codes that I needed and peaced out on a giant space saucer. My next mission is my final one. I'm flying onto a massive sky ship and using those codes I found on Venus to disable their secret weapon. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a lot of running. More specifically, running away. Because at this point, even the standard enemies wouldn't die by charging at them. They would just get knocked over, and I was kinda tired of dying over and over, so I was just trying to get this over with. I kinda ran into problems though when I got jumped while I was in an elevator. I tried jumping and axing him, but he was just too far away. I then tried throwing grenades at him, but they would just bounce off of him and land somewhere else. If I was able to cook grenades, this would have been fine, but you can't do that in this game. So I had to kinda scuff it. First, I would throw a grenade at my feet. Stick with me. I know this looks really bad. I would wait a little to pick the grenade back up. The idea here was that the grenade would kind of cook on the ground a little bit, and then when I would throw it up, it would explode at least kind of near the enemy. This took a lot of tries though, so I have a lot of footage of me blowing myself up over and over. Thankfully, my harebrained plan did work eventually though. Then it was time for the final big fight. I thought that there was gonna be some big boss fight, but nope. Instead, the game just threw enemy after enemy at me. Worst of all, the exit was sealed off, so I couldn't just run away. I tried escaping the map, but it turns out that Billy can absorb bullets like he's the Terminator, but a 5-foot drop is just a little too much for his legs. This section was in the wide open, so I was pretty much constantly running in and out of cover. If there was an enemy by themselves, I would jump on the chance, but if there was more than one, I'd run back to safety and look for even more health. I would take out the big guys last as they took a while to kill, and if there were other enemies in the area, they would just shoot me while I did it. About halfway through, I had burnt through all my armor and health. In other words, I was completely screwed. Then, I realized that there was this whole entire underground section which made the fight so much easier. This area was perfect because there were tight corridors, meaning more cover, and really, only 1 or 2 enemies would enter at a time. So, this should be all right. Tie a bow on it and call it a day? Well, not exactly, because right near the end, 2 of these massive brand new enemies appear. So that was fun. I tried meleeing them, but surprisingly, my dinky little axe barely even dented the death machine. I tried grenades, and all that seemed to do was stun them. At this point, I was really worrying because I was seriously outmatched. So I ran around looking, studying for any little weakness that they may have. It was also at this point that I realized that the exit was now open. All while I was fighting them, I was staring at an open exit and I didn't even realize it. So, of course, I ran away, and after that was about it.
Yeah, and sorry that some of the parts were a little underwhelming. It's just that sometimes the big bad boss can just be ran past like any other enemy, and other times you get put on a random elevator that takes you 30 minutes to get off. Anyways,
thank you for watching. I'm actually surprised that I only had to use a gun once. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon.